Welcome to Leaders Unplugged, the podcast where we dive into the minds of the world's most influential leaders in sport. Today we're exploring the legendary Kobe Bryant, a figure who redefined what leadership, discipline, and excellence mean both on and off the basketball court. Our purpose today is to understand how Kobe's leadership styles, often described as a mix of transformational, authentic, and servant leadership, shaped his teams, inspired millions upon millions, and built what he famously called the Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant, born on August 23rd in 1978 in Philadelphia, was a five-time NBA champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, and an 18-time All-Star. Drafted straight out of high school in 1996, he became one of the youngest players to ever enter the NBA. Across 2 decades with the Los Angeles Lakers, Welcome to Leaders Unplugged, the podcast where we dive into the minds of the world's most influential leaders in sport. Today we're exploring the legendary Kobe Bryant, a figure who redefined what leadership, discipline, and excellence mean both on and off the basketball court. Our purpose today is to understand how Kobe's leadership styles, often described as a mix of transformational, authentic, and servant leadership, shaped his teams, inspired millions upon millions, and built what he famously called the Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant, born on August 23rd in 1978 in Philadelphia, was a five-time NBA champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, and an 18-time All-Star. Drafted straight out of high school in 1996, he became one of the youngest players to ever enter the NBA. Across 2 decades with the Los Angeles Lakers, Kobe Bryant earned a reputation for his relentless competitiveness and unshakable focus. But his leadership over time, from a demanding young star clashing with teammates and rivals, to a mature leader and a mentor guiding the next generation. His story isn't only about skill, but it's about his mindset, a constant pursuit of growth that turned into individual ambition into collective excellence. Kobe embodied this perfectly. He wasn't just leading through instructions. He was leading through examples. His famous 4 a.m. workouts set the tone for the Lakers' culture of excellence. His message was simple but very basic, but it also hit the heart very hard. If you want to be great, you have to outwork everyone. According to Bastian Rieger in 2006, transformational leaders motivate through vision and personal commitment. Kobe's Mamba mentality became that vision, a philosophy urging others to chase constant progress. A great example is the 2009 NBA Finals. Kobe not only dominated statistically, but he also united a team that had struggled with chemistry after Shaquille O'Neal's departure the season prior. He transformed individual focus into a shared belief, proving that leadership isn't about hierarchy, it's about inspiration, and that led them to becoming NBA champions that year. So why did we choose Kobe Bryant for today's episode? Well, aside from being one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, Kobe's leadership is a remarkable example of transformation, not just on the court, but in how he evolved as a person and a leader. His leadership styles spans multiple dimensions, from inspiration to mentorship to discipline and emotional intelligence. He truly demonstrated that leadership is a journey that one goes through growth, reflection, and change. Initially, Kobe was a young phenom who came into the NBA with all the skills, but perhaps not the leadership mindset. He had the fierce competitiveness, but at times to the detriment of his relationships with teammates. But what stands out in Kobe's career is his willingness to learn, to adapt, to reflect, and to grow. This is where we can draw parallels with transformational leadership. As defined by Bass and Rieger in 2006, transformational leaders motivate and inspire followers to not just meet expectations, but to exceed them. Early in his career, Kobe's leadership was intense, even demanding and pushing players to be their best, but at times it alienated them. Over time, though, he realized that to create lasting success, he needed to nurture relationships and empower others. This was the beginning of his transformation into the mentor role. And if you look at the latter part of Kobe's career, particularly after his Achilles injury in 2013, you'll see him transform into a servant leader, focused on guiding and inspiring the younger players of the new generation. He mentored players like Jason Tatum, Julius Randle, Giannis Antetokounmpo, offering them insights not just about basketball, but about life, responsibility, and how to deal with pressure. His authentic leadership style shines the most here. The growth in his leadership style was driven by a deep sense of self-awareness, which is key in the authentic leadership theory. Kobe became someone who truly lived his values and that inspired those around him to do the same. The biggest takeaway from Kobe's career is that leadership isn't just about leading when things are good, it's about leading when things are tough too. His willingness to share his failures, his reflection on his mistakes, and his growth from them shows us that leaders don't have to be perfect. What they need is humility to learn and the strength to push through. We choose Kobe because his leadership journey encapsulates many of the key themes in sports leadership: transformation, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and above all, the ability to inspire and elevate others. Qualities that transcend the basketball court and are applicable in everyday field of leadership. One of the best styles of leadership, in my personal opinion in sport, is transformational leadership, a concept developed by Bernard Bass and James Burns. This theory emphasizes inspiring and motivating followers to achieve more than they thought was possible. Kobe embodied this perfectly. He was just leading through instructions. So why did we choose Kobe Bryant for today's episode? Well, aside from being one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, Kobe's leadership is a remarkable example of transformation, not just on the court, but in how he evolved as a person and a leader. His leadership styles spans multiple dimensions, from inspiration to mentorship to discipline and emotional intelligence. He truly demonstrated that leadership is a journey that one goes through growth, reflection, and change. Initially, Kobe was a young phenom who came to the NBA with all the skills, but perhaps not the leadership mindset. He had the fierce competitiveness, but at times to the detriment of his relationships with teammates. But what stands out in Kobe's career is his willingness to learn, to adapt, to reflect, and to grow. This is where we can draw parallels with transformational leadership. Because not every single athlete is known for their transformational leadership. I'll give you an example. LeBron James, one of Kobe's greatest friends. LeBron James is widely known for his relational and democratic leadership. He builds harmony and cohesion by empowering teammates, valuing their input, and maintaining a positive locker room environment. In contrast to Kobe's leadership leaned more towards the transformational model. He sought to change his teammates' mindsets, challenging them to exceed their perceived limits. Kobe didn't always seek to be liked. He aimed to inspire and respect and commitment. His focus on mental toughness, accountability, and became a defining feature of his leadership style. That's why I feel like he is the greatest example of transformational leadership. But I'm going to leave it to our co-host Maksud to do the rest.
Kobe also reflects authentic leadership, being genuine, transparent, and purpose-driven. Northhouse in 2021 describes authentic leaders as those who align their actions with their values. Kobe admitted his early mistakes, his conflicts, ego, and isolation, but he grew into a leader who shared wisdom openly. Post-retirement, he mentored younger players like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum, helping them develop both on and off the court. That connects to servant leadership, a theory that was introduced by Robert Greenleaf. Servant leaders prioritize others' growth, and Kobe's later years showed this clearly. He shifted from seeking personal glory to empowering teammates, and later the next generation of athletes, including coaching his daughter Gigi's team. Another framework that fits Kobe is situational leadership by Hersey and Blanchard. It argues that effective leaders adapt their style depending on the maturity and readiness of their team. Early in his career, Kobe was more authoritarian, demanding perfection, clashing with teammates, especially when they didn't match his intensity. But by his final seasons, we saw a shift. He encouraged young players like D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson, recognizing that mentorship, not dominance, would help the team grow. That evolution illustrates leadership maturity, understanding that influence changes form as circumstances change. Emotional intelligence is another vital part of Kobe's leadership. Goldman in 1998 identified self-awareness, motivation, empathy, and social skills as essential traits of effective leaders. Kobe's empathy came through in how he handled pressure. He defended teammates in public, gave them confidence during critical games, and privately pushed them to their limits. His ability to read others' emotions and respond strategically kept team morale strong during high-pressure moments. This emotional awareness transformed him from a feared competitor into a trusted leader, someone teammates want to follow, not just obey. And of course, Kobe's leadership wasn't without flaws. His intense drive sometimes alienated teammates early on, but what makes him stand out is how he learned from that, embracing reflection and humility. That self-awareness turned mistakes into wisdom. It reminds us that great leadership isn't about being perfect, it is about being committed to growth. Kobe's evolution from ego-driven to emotionally intelligent leader is a model for resilience and personal development. So, what can we learn from Kobe Bryant's leadership? First, that excellence begins with self-discipline, leading by example before expecting greatness from others. Second, adaptability is key. Leaders evolve with their teams, balancing toughness with empathy. And finally, leadership is legacy, inspiring others long after the spotlight fades. Kobe's leadership journey also reminds us that leadership is not linear. It is a constant cycle of learning, reflecting, and improving. His willingness to acknowledge his early mistakes and consciously transform himself into a more understanding, emotionally intelligent leader is a lesson for anyone striving to grow, not just in sport, but in life. In essence, Kobe embodied what Northhouse calls leadership as a process. Not a position, but a series of actions that influence, inspire, and elevate others. The Mamba mentality wasn't just about basketball. It was about mindset, resilience, and the pursuit of mastery in any field. As Kobe once said, the most important thing is to inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. His impact extended beyond the court to business, storytelling, and philanthropy, showing that leadership anchored in purpose can create lasting social and cultural change. And on that, we would like to thank you for joining us on Leaders Unplugged. We hope you have enjoyed exploring Kobe Bryant's leadership journey, a story of transformation, mentorship, and relentless pursuit of growth. Remember, real leadership isn't measured by how loudly you speak, but by how deeply you inspire. This has been the Mamba Mindset, leadership lessons from Kobe Bryant. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep chasing excellence.